The internet has given us many things. Memes, arguing with strangers, my personal favorite, and a concerning number of ways to buy questionable vitamins at 3 a.m. But back in 2012, it gave us something different, something smart, something unsettling. It wasn't a trend, it wasn't a scam, at least not the obvious kind. It was a puzzle, a dense, cryptic, wildly complicated puzzle, signed only by something or someone called Cicada 3301. No explanation, no instructions, just a casual challenge dropped into the chaos of the internet like a hand grenade. Quote, "We are looking for highly intelligent individuals." What followed wasn't just a game. It became one of the biggest unsolved mysteries on the web, a global scavenger hunt that still has people asking who was behind it and what did they want? And why, after all these years, does it still feel like the game never really ended? It started on January 4th, 2012. Someone, or something, posted a simple black and white image on 4chan, right in the random board, which if you've ever visited 4chan, you know is about 2 steps removed from a Chuck E. Cheese ball pit if the ball pit was also on fire. The image didn't look like much, just a plain block of text that said, "Hello, we are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test." And then it gave a clue, a very basic one. If you're the kind of person who casually thinks solving cryptographic puzzles is a relaxing weekend hobby. At first, people thought it was a joke. You know, internet nonsense. The usual background radiation of memes and bad opinions. But when the first people started poking at the image, they realized it wasn't just a random post. There was data hidden inside the image itself. Welcome to the weird, wonderful world of stenography. Hiding information inside other information. Once you've cracked that, it led to another puzzle, which led to a phone number, which gave you a voicemail, which led to another website, which, you get the idea. The further people dug, the clearer it became. This wasn't some kid screwing around in Photoshop. Whoever made this had mad skills, real ones, technical, creative, logistical, and honestly kind of scary. Because whoever they weren't just playing a game. It felt like they were setting a trap. And the only way out was to prove you were smart enough to figure out the breadcrumbs without ever really knowing what you were chasing. The first few clues, they were fine, manageable. But the deeper people went, the weirder it got. And not in the haha weird internet way, more like, should I be worried that someone built this? Every layer of the puzzle seemed to use a different skill set. You had to know stenography, hiding messages inside of images. You had to recognize obscure literary references, crack ancient ciphers, and pull hidden data out of music files. There were Twitter accounts hidden in clues. There were messages buried inside Reddit threads. There were even references to old philosophy texts, like the Mabinogion, because apparently Cicada 3301 was less escape room and more PhD entrance exam from hell. And then came the real-world part. Coordinates. Actual GPS coordinates. If you followed the trail far enough, you didn't just sit behind a screen solving puzzles. You had to physically go to places like Texas, Poland, Australia. People started showing up at random intersections and payphones, finding posters with a picture of a cicada logo and a QR code leading to the next step. So now we're dealing with a mystery that was organized enough and well-funded enough to plant physical clues around the world. Not just one city, not just one country or continent. Everywhere. At this point, the theory started spinning out, because either this was the most ambitious internet scavenger hunt of all time, or someone was recruiting for something a little bigger than winning a free t-shirt. Pretty much immediately, people started asking the obvious question. Who is behind this? Because let's be honest, regular people don't usually create massive, multi-layered global scavenger hunts for fun. That's the kind of project you start if you have a lot of free time, access to international travel, and maybe just a pinch of God complex. The theories, They came in hot. First up, the CIA, recruiting smart, puzzle-obsessed people without actually having to admit it. Yeah, that sounds exactly like something they do. Bonus points for plausible deniability if you ask anyone too many questions. Then came the idea that it was the NSA or MI6 or some other shady intelligence agency that needed fresh blood. Because what better way to find people who are smart, obsessive, and willing to jump through flaming hoops for zero information? It's like a job interview, except you don't even know you're applying. Another theory? Private cybersecurity firms. Tech companies and government contractors are always hunting for cryptography experts. And what better test than a puzzle so hard it makes Mensa look like a middle school mathlete tryout? And then there's the weirder side of the theories. A secret society. Maybe Cicada 3301 wasn't a company or a government agency. Maybe it was a group, a cult, a network of very smart, very secretive people looking to build something or protect something. What exactly? No idea. But if you're trying to make an internet mystery even more unsettling, shadowy cult is always a strong play. The creepy part, nobody ever stepped forward. Nobody took credit. Nobody said, "Congrats, you've beat the game." All you got, if you were good enough to solve it, was a quiet nod. And then a door slammed shut. And if you think that's suspicious, don't worry, it's about to get even weirder. You'd think, after a stunt like that, whoever was behind Cicada 3301 would take a victory lap, post a few smug memes, maybe sell t-shirts. Nope. Exactly 1 year later, January 2013, they dropped another puzzle. Same logo, same cryptic vibe, even harder, because apparently the first one was too easy, and they decided to crank up the difficulty to good luck ever seeing daylight again. Another global treasure hunt. More hidden codes, literary references, obscure encryption methods that make your brain hurt just hearing about them. And once again, real-world locations, real flyers on real telephone poles in real cities. People started noticing a pattern. Solve the online puzzle. Cool. You get to the next step. Solve the physical world clue. You move forward. Maybe. But here's the thing. At a certain point, the communication went dark. People who made it far enough suddenly stopped hearing back. No congratulations. No thanks for playing. Nothing. Some of them got a message basically saying that we want the best, not the followers. Which is just a cold, beautiful little way of saying you're not chosen. Good luck going back to your normal, boring life knowing you failed a puzzle designed by people who may or may not control the free world. Then in 2014, they dropped a third round. Same deal. More complicated, more cryptic, even fewer people able to keep up. After that, silence. Officially, Cicada 3301 hasn't posted anything verified since 2014. But that hasn't stopped the rumors or the hope that the game isn't over. It's just operating at a level that the rest of us can't see anymore. At the end of the day, here's what we actually know about Cicada 3301. You ready? Nothing. Zip. A big, beautiful pile of question marks. No group ever stepped forward to claim it. No winners ever gave a verified interview. There's no official solution to point to. A few people over the years have claimed they finished the puzzles, but none of them could ever actually prove it. And a lot of the ones that tried sounded like the kind of person that would corner you at a coffee shop to talk about cryptocurrency for 2 hours without blinking. So take that for what it's worth. Some clues that have been solved seem to suggest that Cicada was all about promoting internet freedom, privacy rights, cryptography, that kind of thing, which sounds noble, until you remember even cults usually have a mission statement that looks pretty reasonable at first. Free hugs and enlightenment. Just sign here and hand over your passport. There's also the tiny little problem that anyone smart enough to solve a Cicada puzzle probably isn't dumb enough to run around bragging about it on Reddit afterward. So maybe the real winners never said anything. Maybe they were recruited into some deep private project we'll never hear about. Maybe they're building something. Maybe they already did. Or maybe it was all just an experiment, a really elaborate, really beautiful way to prove one final point, that the smartest people out there, the ones who could have solved the puzzle, were the ones smart enough to walk away. So that's Cicada 3301. An internet mystery that showed up, outsmarted just about everyone, and then ghosted like a bad Tinder date. Except this one might have been run by spies, or geniuses, or, knowing the internet, maybe both. Whatever it was, it left a pretty big question hanging in the air. Was Cicada 3301 actually recruiting for something real? Or was it just a test to see who was paying attention and who's still busy arguing about pineapple on pizza? Either way, it's a reminder that sometimes the smartest moves are the ones you don't even realize you're being asked to make. Or, just not clicking on weird QR codes taped to a telephone pole in Poland. Both good life lessons. Thanks for listening to 10-Minute Mystery. If you're new here, hit the follow button wherever you're listening. It's free and a lot less complicated than trying to solve a global cryptographic treasure hunt. You can also follow along on social media. Links are in the show notes. And if you want to check out a podcast that is still brief and bingeable like this one, but I talk about murders, I have another podcast called 10-Minute Murder. Go check that out. Thank you again for listening to 10-Minute Mystery.